So we started trying to conceive again. You know, you have to wait. The doctor tells you to wait 3 months, blah, 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 blah. So it actually was a little longer for us because of the cyst and everything. But we started trying again, and I had, you know, high hopes that we would get pregnant right away because we had the first time. So, you know, here we are, we try for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, nothing happened. So then I'm like, you know, what's going on? So, then I started, and it's funny because it's like, of course, everywhere I go, everybody's pregnant. And when I'm out in town, it just seems like everybody's either out to hear about to pop, or they've got their new little babies. And when you've had a loss, you know what I mean. It was just, I didn't want to get out of the house because I didn't feel like seeing all of that. I was just really upset. And so after about 6 months of trying, I started taking the, what are they called? The ovulation test sticks. I took, there's no telling how much money I spent on those little things, and I never, either I wasn't ovulating at all, or I just didn't know how to work them right, because I could never get one of those things to come up positive for me. So, you know, for 2 years, it took us 2 years of trying to get pregnant with William. And during those 2 years, I spent, I wouldn't even want to know how much money I spent on ovulation tests and pregnancy tests. And I would test every month, and it would always be negative. So I just got down. So I finally decided to go to the doctor and talk to him about it. I found a new doctor that I really loved, and he wound up being the doctor I used through my pregnancy. But so I talked to him about, you know, we'd been trying to conceive for this amount of time. I think it had been like a year now, and we had been trying for about a year. And so I went to him, and he didn't want to do anything. He said I'd already been pregnant once, so we knew that I could get pregnant. We knew that Tim was able, like, nothing was wrong with Tim sperm or whatever, because we had conceived once and I just miscarried. And he said that sometimes depression and weight gain and stuff like that can have an effect on it. So we decided to wait. He said he didn't like to do any kind of invasive procedures or whatever. I can't really remember. He didn't want to do anything till we had been trying for a while, and with no results. So I decided, okay, we're just going to keep trying. Whatever's going to happen will happen. And so that's what we did. We kept trying. I did everything under the sun that you can think of, that you hear. After we would have sex, I would put the pillows under my butt and like lay there with my butt straight up in the air. We did that. I mean, I did everything that you possibly could. Tracked my ovulation, my temperatures, and I was never good at that stuff. I could never quite figure it out really, really well. So I just kind of gave up on that and decided, you know, just going to do it. If it happens, it happens. So the very last test, or not the very last, the second to last test I took before I got pregnant with William was in January of 2010. It had been almost exactly 2 years since I'd had my miscarriage, and that was weighed heavy on my mind. So I went and I took my pregnancy test like I always did, and it came back negative. And I was just used to it at this point. But I decided then, that day, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of being disappointed. I'm tired of trying so hard and being disappointed every month. So I decided that I was through, that I wasn't doing it anymore, and that Tim and I would just adopt kids later in life, because I didn't feel like going back to the doctor. We didn't have the money to spend going to doctors, so I was just done. I was tired of trying. So I went to work that morning, and my friend and coworker came in, and I'd been just really upset because, you know, I'd kind of gotten used to it, but you never really get used to that negative. You always have that little bit of hope, even when you've been trying for 2 years, and even though you've took a bazillion pregnancy tests and they all come up negative, you've still got that little hope that this one's going to be positive. So I was just in a really bad mood, really upset, and just randomly out of the blue that same day, my friend and coworker brought in this book, and it's just the small prayers and promises for a supernatural childbirth. And I had kind of heard of it before. I didn't tell very many people we were trying to conceive because we were having such a hard time. So, you know, it was really hard to go to like family events, and everybody was like, when are y'all going to give us a grandbaby? Or when are y'all going to do, you know, start trying to have babies? And little did they know, we had been trying for a while. Anyways, so my friend gives me this book, and she's like, I know that that you've been trying to get pregnant, and I think you should read this. So I was in such a bad mood, you know, I didn't let it show to her. I was like, thanks, blah, 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 but I was like, whatever, blah, 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 I don't care. I've decided I'm not trying to have a baby anymore. So I go home and I read this book. It's by Jackie Mize, I think. But so I go home that night and I read this book. And basically what it is I'm not going to read anything out of it because it would take too long. But it gives you certain Bible quotes and certain it gives you a certain way that you're supposed to pray. So, like, instead of saying, please, Lord, let me get pregnant today, in this book it says you know, it gives you these prayers. One is for dealing with fear and negative thoughts, and then one is for while you're trying to conceive, and fulfillment over barrenness. And it gives you these prayers, and then it gives you scripture out of the Bible, and then it even gives you a section where you talk to your body. And the whole basis of this book is when you pray, you speak in you confess something to be true. And so I'd never heard of this before, but I am a Christian, and so I was like, okay. So I read it, and one of the main important goals is you have to have complete faith and state what you want knowing that that's what's going to happen. And just have faith and know that that's right. So I went to bed that night, got up the next morning, and I went into the bathroom. I got down on my knees and I said the prayers out of this book. And I know some of you aren't Christians or whatever. This is just my story. So I got down on my knees and I said the prayer, and I got up and I said, I'm going to go to Kroger. I'm going to get a birth control test. I'm only going to get one. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take it, and it's going to give me a positive. And I'm going to be pregnant, and this is going to be a healthy baby. This baby's going to live. So I get in my car, and I go to Kroger, and I get the pregnancy test, and I come home, and I peed on the stick, and I just took one yesterday that came back negative, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this is it. This is my time. I don't care what the one yesterday said, I'm going to be pregnant. And when I picked that stick up and looked at it, and it had a big fat positive on it, and I've never felt so, like, it was one of those moments where you're like, wow, you know, did that just happen? Because even though you have to have the faith and everything, it still was just like, oh my gosh, you know, when you've had 2 years of negatives, and to get that positive, you almost don't even believe it's true. So it was a big fat positive, and this book also has prayers that you say every night while you're pregnant, and you speak to the baby and stuff like that. So every night before Tim and I would go to bed, when we were saying our prayers at night, we would say the prayers in this book to our unborn baby. And it's just a really, like, it gives you, the passages it gives you and the prayers it gives you are just very uplifting, and I really truly believe with all of my heart that God gave me William, and without him I wouldn't have my baby today. And these prayers, it has prayers for babies too, to be healthy and stuff like that. And William, I had a perfect pregnancy, no problems, nothing like that. William was born healthy, and I gave birth to him naturally, even though he weighed almost 11 pounds. I only pushed for 1 hour, and he come out. And then he's been a healthy, happy little guy ever since. So, I guess the reason I felt like making this video is because I see so many people that are going through that journey right now, and I know how hard it can be, and I know at times you just want to give up, and it feels like you're never going to get you know, that big fat positive and a healthy pregnancy and stuff, but it does happen. And it took us 2 years, and it was a long, rough 2 years, but we did it. And now that he's here, we couldn't be happier. So I know what it's like to go through that and feel like it's just never going to be, but just have the faith. And if you're interested, you should totally get this book. It's just a real little, they have a bigger book, but this is just the prayers and promises guide. And this was really a lifesaver for me and my family throughout the pregnancy. So that's my story. I wish everybody out there that is trying for a baby, good luck. I've seen so many people that they're just starting to try and conceive for their second child and stuff like that after beating infertility. So go you. Lots of baby dust to anybody that's trying for a baby.